What a difference 4 days can make. From the post-WrestleMania Raw, where any positive momentum or buzz that WWE garnered from a great WrestleMania weekend, despite the controversial ending to the main event on night 2 between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, any and all of that positive buzz was completely flushed down the fucking toilet with that show on Monday. With how, I don't want to say it was the worst Raw I've ever seen. I've seen far worse shows than that. But being in the building for it, walking out of that show with a lot of negative feelings towards the product, the show, the idea that Vince is indeed back writing the show, and the idea that him and Triple H are co-writing the shows together, it doesn't make any fucking sense. When Vince is back in creative control. Vince was not at SmackDown on Friday, giving people a lot of hope that SmackDown would not be a Vince McMahon run show. Now, per PW Insider, and I don't know what to believe at this point, but per PW Insider, which is a pretty legitimate, credible source, they noted prior to Friday's SmackDown that Vince, while he wasn't in the building in Portland last night for the show, he did give some revisions for the show. He read over the script remotely. He made some minor changes. But beyond that, it was a largely hands-off show for Vince and primarily a Triple H production. And it fucking showed. Now, I don't want to be one of those people that says that everything positive that comes out of WWE at this point is a Triple H idea, and everything negative is probably coming from Vince. I don't want to say that because that's not completely true. I think a lot of the booking decisions made at WrestleMania in retrospect were probably made by Triple H. Raw seemed like it was very much a Vince production show. That show sucked. And a lot of Vince McMahon, what's the right word? Not mannerisms, but a lot of what we saw felt like it came from Vince. Getting Omos on the show for a pointless squash, Lashley being out there for a pointless squash, the fucking Rollins segment, a lot of what we got on that show sucked. A lot of what we got on SmackDown on Friday was quite good. It was a very enjoyable 2 hours. And a nice palate cleanser, so to speak, coming off that very disappointing post-WrestleMania edition of Raw on Monday. This is my Friday Night SmackDown audio review for April 7, 2023. I am Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great Easter weekend so far. This was the Good Friday edition of the Blue Brand. And again, a lot of questions going in. Will this be a good show? Will they continue the Vince McMahon vibe from Monday? Will this be another abysmal edition of SmackDown coming into WrestleMania? Because SmackDown, a lot like Raw going into WrestleMania, was quite good. Even last week's show, which I didn't have a chance to watch entirely before WrestleMania, and hence why there was no SmackDown audio review last week. It was WrestleMania weekend. I was there. Large and due to the fact it was quite good. Due to the fact that Triple H was primarily running things made sense. Not everything under Triple H has been perfect. There's been a lot of questionable booking decisions. If that Cody Rhodes losing to Roman Reigns call was indeed a Triple H call, I question that. It was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen, honestly. One of the dumbest and worst booked finishes I've seen in quite some time. But that being said, a lot of what we've gotten under Triple H with Raw and SmackDown has been a positive, and the shows have certainly seen an increase, maybe not dramatically, but it's certainly been noticeable under Triple H in the last 7 or 8 months. I'm glad we got that vibe back with SmackDown on Friday. I thought this was a very good show. And not only did it kind of recap the events of WrestleMania, but kind of gave us a decent idea of where we might be headed going forward, with the Puerto Rico Backlash show coming up in early May, and now the return of the WWE Draft, which I'm very excited about. We'll get more into momentarily. We open the episode not with Triple H, because that was what was originally advertised to open this show. As of a couple of days ago on social media, it might have been Thursday, Wednesday, I don't remember. Triple H was advertised to open SmackDown this week, a lot like he did with Raw. And a lot of us were wondering, oh great, here we go again. Because remember, the WWE, I don't think ever said it in the announcement for Raw going into Monday's Raw. They never said that Triple H had an announcement. Not the dirt sheets, but like Fightful had said, Triple H, and they're pretty on point with their like Raw and SmackDown rundowns, what we can expect from the show going into each episode. They had said Triple H was probably opening the show with an announcement. The promo that we got from him instead, there was no announcement. It was like an empty, not threat, but just an empty announcement of literally nothing. He was just out there to thank the fans and the crew and the talent for a very successful WrestleMania weekend, and that was about it. He referenced the WWE sale. That wasn't the announcement. He just kind of referenced it because he kind of had to, and that was it. That was it. And a lot of us were wondering, oh great, he's becoming the next Vince in the sense where they're going to advertise a Triple H appearance and he's going to be out there to say literally nothing of note whatsoever. What a fucking waste of time. What a lame way to draw ratings to your show. Because the more you do that, the less people are going to be excited about a Triple H appearance on the show. Thankfully, that's not what this was. So he didn't open the show. I honestly thought they scrapped it all together. I could have sworn the initial announcement said that he was opening SmackDown. Maybe it just said he would be on the show, because as soon as the show started, I didn't watch it live, so maybe I missed it. Not only was he not on the show, I didn't see any promotion for a Triple H appearance until he actually walked out there. So anyway, we actually opened the show with a 6-man tag team match. The Brawling Brutes, Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch, taking on and beating the trio of Imperium, Gunther, Ludwig Kaiser, and Giovanni Vinci. It was Sheamus who pinned, I think, Vinci for the victory. Very good match here, as you would only expect from these 6. They always work well together. They've had a bunch of 6-man tag team matches dating back to the fall, dating back to the Clash of the Castle season. Sheamus is now 0-3 in Intercontinental Championship matches involving Gunther. In him winning here, and not only winning, but picking up the win for his team, thankfully not pinning Gunther. Gunther should not suffer his first defeat on the main roster, like first pinfall defeat, in a fucking tag team match, obviously. This indicates that his chase for the championship is not yet over. What I don't like about this is that if they are headed for Gunther and Sheamus 3, like, listen, I'm all for Sheamus being the one to beat Gunther for that championship. It only makes sense. The story is there. He's the right one to take the title off of Gunther. And I smile and I laugh because it's been such a long time coming. But if that's the idea, and they're going to do it at likely Backlash in Puerto Rico, which should be a big show. I'm looking forward to that show. That should be a very sexy show. The crowd should be electric. I'm not a fan of that. Listen, I'll take it. I'm not going to complain entirely. Like, it's not one of those cases where there are shades of gray with WWE wrestling, with anything, where you don't have to like, it's not like, oh, I'm complaining again. No, I don't have to like 100% of what they're giving us. I don't have to hate 100% of what they're giving us. I can like it and also not like it. If Sheamus is the one to beat Gunther, great. My one nitpick of that is that is that Backlash, and nothing against Puerto Rico. But if you were going to put the belt on Gunther, or rather on Sheamus from Gunther this entire time, then do it at WrestleMania. We had a lot of bummers on night 2. Edge beating Balor, I know, was like the feel-good ending to that story. I just thought that was the wrong outcome. Bianca beat Asuka to retain her championship. Roman beat Cody. Shockingly, I mean, it wasn't entirely unexpected, but it's still a bummer when Roman beat Cody and Gunther retained. We had all 3 successful retentions of championships on that show. You couldn't just have Sheamus win it there. It was a fucking triple threat anyway. He could have pinned Drew to win the championship. If he pins Gunther, that's fine too. I'm honestly more in favor of that. But I know you had to get Drew on the show in some form or fashion. That was the match that made sense. But then just give fucking Sheamus the win there. Like, you had people from across Europe at WrestleMania. It was a bigger show, bigger stadium show. You want to make WrestleMania moments. We really got no WrestleMania moments on night 2. Very little, if any at all. Very few. Why not do that on that show as opposed to fucking Puerto Rico for Backlash? That should be a nice show as well, don't get me wrong. But unless they're saving it for London at Money in the Bank or for SummerSlam, they might not even do it at all. But Gunther could very well beat Sheamus for a fucking 4th time. I just don't understand, if they're headed in that direction still, why they would do it on any other show but WrestleMania unless it's in the UK. That's what doesn't make sense to me. So I guess we'll see where they go with it. Ricochet took on Ivar. Kind of a nothing match. It was nice while it lasted. No one really cared. It looks like they are continuing, seemingly, the Ricochet, Braun Strowman, Viking Raiders rivalry. And that's fine. It's a nice way for them to kill time with these 2 tag teams coming off their loss in the men's WrestleMania Showcase match at WrestleMania Night 1, which was a great match, by the way. Nothing on the line here. Kind of hard to care. The Viking Raiders really have no heat whatsoever, so this was just kind of there. Again, didn't really mean anything for Ricochet to win, but it was what it was. Speaking of matches that didn't really matter, this wasn't like a home run of a show. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was a very good show, but like the Ricochet Ivar match was fine. I didn't really care. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez against Shotzi and Natalya, I also didn't really care about. The match was decent. This was clearly just designed to give Liv and Raquel another win before they challenge Alita and Becky Lynch for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles on Raw this coming Monday. But Shotzi and Natalya are also babyfaces, so the crowd didn't really have an incentive to cheer for one team over the other. Shotzi and Natalya are such a fucking random team that don't really have great chemistry. Liv and Raquel are also a random team, but I think they do have good chemistry as partners. They work well together. They very well could win the tag team titles on Monday. I still think it'll be Ronda and Shayna beating Becky and Lita, likely a Backlash, but I could be wrong on that. But the match was fine. This wasn't a bad match. It's just kind of hard to care because these 4 women have been doing a lot of nothing lately. And it served a purpose in giving Liv and Raquel another win before Monday, but beyond that, there was no heat here. It wasn't like this outstandingly wrestled match. It was just kind of there. The first real big segment on the show was the return of Triple H, after only 4 days, announcing the return of the WWE Draft. Now, again, I thought this would be another empty announcement of Triple H coming out there, thanking the fans for WrestleMania, and that being it. But he talked about the future, and I'm thinking, okay, what are we getting here? Are we getting the return of another world championship? Which, listen, we do need 2 world titles. I won't go into too much depth about it here. I don't think it's a good idea to bring in and establish another world championship while you still have Roman Reigns as the undisputed champion. I think Roman Reigns should lose first and then either break up those belts or bring in a new title or whatever. I wouldn't do that quite yet. That being said, though, with the future and whatnot, the WWE Draft was the next best thing. Now, I know people are going to laugh. Oh, the draft means nothing. Who gives a shit? Everyone's on both shows anyway. I love the draft, first of all. The only way I'm in favor of this is if they actually stick to the brand split. Again, which I know is comical because we've said this many, many, many times before. And they've been switching brands so frequently in the last 8 months since Triple H took over. I stopped complaining about it a long time ago because it became apparent at that point, okay, they don't give a fuck about the brand split rules. These aren't Triple H's rosters. I'm hoping they do the draft right because it feels like just having people randomly go to one show or the other, like the network executives are picking like superstars, makes no fucking sense. You really need you really need general managers. You really need new GMs for Raw and SmackDown for this to make sense. You don't even have Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville anymore. You only have one authority figure on air, and that's Adam Pearce. You need actual general managers for this to make sense, first of all. Second of all, I kind of figured they would kind of have people switch shows and go back and forth until WrestleMania, and after WrestleMania, they would reestablish the draft, bring it back, and reestablish the rosters. That looks like it appears to be the direction they're headed in. So if that's the case, I'm perfectly fine with this. But they have to make it clear going into, during, and coming out of this draft that these rosters will fucking stick and you can't go to the other show. I know that's not exactly the case when you have one set of tag titles and one world championship, but everyone else should be exclusive to one show or the other. That's the only way this is going to work. Otherwise, it doesn't fucking matter what show you're on. So I am looking forward to the draft, don't get me wrong. Didn't give an exact date as far as when it's happening. I would assume right before Backlash, maybe the final Monday of the month, I would assume, who knows. That's just a guess on my part. Maybe on April, what would be that? I think the May 1st is a Monday, so it might be May 1st. It could very well be May or April 24th or something, who knows. In order for this to work, you need, and I like the fact it's after WrestleMania, you need to ensure people, listen, these rosters will stick and the brand split matters. If it doesn't, then this is pointless. And it's just a ratings ploy, which I'm not sure how much people even really give a shit about the draft at this point, but still, hopefully they stick to it. I'm not holding my breath given their track record. They're like 0-5 with this sort of shit. But again, we'll soon see in due time, hopefully. The Judgment Day were out next. Triple H kind of crossed them in the aisleway, hugging Rhea, congratulating her, shaking the hands of Damian, Dom, and giving a too sweet to Finn, which I thought was cool. They were all kind of taking turns talking about their various and many enemies right now. Rhea celebrating her win of the SmackDown Women's Championship for WrestleMania. No indication given who's next for her championship. There was a tease for her and Raquel on Raw. I know Raquel's kind of got her sights set on the Raw, or rather the WWE Women's Tag Team titles right now. So maybe that's the next program after that match is over on Monday. Maybe Rhea factors into the finish. We'll see. So Rhea talked about winning the championship. Dominic talked about losing to Rey and having unfinished business there. Bad Bunny talked about, or rather Damian talked about Bad Bunny, which I like a lot, which gives me hope that the Backlash main event will indeed be, because we got the other Backlash match that I thought we might get here, Rey and Santos Escobar against Dominic and Damian. So hopefully it's Rey and Bad Bunny against Dominic and Damian at Backlash. And then you had Finn Balor out there, who was like the least, shockingly, now Bad Bunny and Damian is going on that whole feud. Now that feud is going on, Finn Balor feels like the least relevant member of Judgment Day. And at one point, it looked like he was the fucking leader. He was out there complaining about Edge, and he was saying, I really won the war because I'm still standing despite getting my head gashed in, and you're not here. Who gives a shit? You fucking lost. The Demon's a loser. it's hard to care about Finn at this point. They can never really get it right with the guy. Why even do the demon shit at WrestleMania if he was going to fucking lose again? Seriously, like, never bring back the demon again. That shit was terrible that he lost again. Why did he lose? Like, Edge did not need that win he gains in nothing. But anyway, that led into the tag team match. Damian and Dominic against the LWO, which is what they're officially called now. Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, the rest of Legado. They are officially LWO according to WWE.com, which is pretty fucking cool. Really fun match here. Damian pinning Santos for the win. I love how this group, this affiliation between Rey and Santos, should hopefully get Santos over. He keeps losing. He lost again here, this time to Damian, who also needed a win. But I do think this will get him more over in the grand scheme of things, and then ultimately there will come a time where Santos hopefully turns on Rey, and then you get a Rey and Santos feud. That is pretty fucking cool. Hopefully. Hopefully that's the direction they go in long term. Maybe even a WrestleMania next year. Who knows? But I thought this was pretty good. Good stuff to set up the Damian and Dominic win and their hopeful tag team match against Rey and Bad Bunny at Backlash. Give them more heat coming off of Dominic's loss at WrestleMania. I like this a lot. Throughout the show, he had many interactions between Jey and Paul Heyman, Solo Sikoa, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. A lot of segments throughout the show. The storytelling here was immaculate. This was perfect. So Sami told Kevin, listen, I know we're the tag team champions. This is what we always wanted. It feels great, but I can't help but feel there's something missing. I need to go talk to Jey. In which he did. This was spread out throughout the entire show. So Sami talked to Jey and said, listen, the bloodline's crumbling. We got what we wanted. We got these tag team titles, but I still feel like there's some good left in you, and you can kind of turn in our favor. And Jey heard him out, but didn't really respond before we found out that Solo attacked Kevin Owens backstage. So Sami had to leave Jey, go tend to Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens was not out there. That led to Sami and Jey, which was already advertised for the main event, between those two. Really good match. This was the match they've been building to for a long time now between Sami and Jey, the match that a lot of people wanted at WrestleMania. We got it here in the post-WrestleMania SmackDown. And I thought it was great stuff. Solo, we got the exact same finish from WrestleMania, the exact same finish from Clash, with Solo getting involved, helping Jey Uso win the match. Jimmy Uso was not on the show, interestingly. We were told that only Roman wanted Jey on the show and not Jimmy, which was interesting, like I said. So it was teased that if Jey couldn't solve the Sami Zayn problem, then Solo Sikoa had his own problems to solve, likely with the Usos. They're teasing tension there. I like where they're going with that. I'm still pissed that Roman beat Cody, but the bloodline stuff continues to be the best stuff in the entire show. So it looked like Solo was beating up Sami afterward. Jey wasn't happy with it. He stopped Solo from hitting Sami with the Samoan spike, and then he super kicked Sami himself. And the people were really excited when he initially teased turning on Solo, and then he turned on Sami anyway. So we're clearly getting closer to a full-on Jey Uso babyface turn. They're taking their time with it, teasing it for people, and then not delivering. But hopefully we do get it at some point, and then by the point we do get it, people still care. I don't want it to enter Daniel Garcia territory where they tease it, they fuck over the people, and then we either never get it or they give it away so much farther down the road to when people just don't care. Hopefully at some point we do get that, because it will be a great blow-off and a great moment. But then not Kevin Owens making the save, but Matt Riddle making the save for Sami Zayn instead, fending off Jey Uso and Solo Sikoa, the same man who put Riddle on the shelf back in December. So this was great stuff. I really like this a lot. I don't know if this sets up Owen, Zayn, and Riddle against the Bloodline Solo and the Usos for Backlash, or just a tag team title rematch and then Riddle and Solo one-on-one. I'm fine with either option, because I think it makes sense either way. Randy's a long way from coming back. We won't see him anytime soon, I don't think, unfortunately, due to his back fusion surgery. This just makes a whole lot of sense. It should be a great match, whether it be a six-man or one-on-one. It's a story that makes sense. And that's all I ask for. We still have no active world champion on the show. I assume Roman goes away for a while, and that sucks. But the story we're left with in his absence should still be intriguing. This was a great show, I thought. Again, Ricochet and Ivar in the women's tag team match didn't light the world on fire, but they were fine matches. And I thought the opening match was a lot of fun. The Triple H announcement was, in fact, eventful and newsworthy, thankfully. The tag team match with Judgment Day taking on LWO was a lot of fun. And the main event was also great, too. So overall, really good show. We got the return of Shinsuke Nakamura next week and LA Knight versus Xavier Woods one-on-one. Hopefully with LA Knight getting his win back after losing to Woods several weeks ago on SmackDown. So, again, really good SmackDown. Hopefully this is the trend. I don't know if it's a case where Vince will run Raw and Triple H run SmackDown. We'll find out more next week. I don't know if Vince will be as heavily involved with these shows going forward, because if he is, people will be fucking pissed. In front of the camera, behind the scenes, fan base, whatever, it doesn't matter. People will be upset. Very few people, I'm sure, will be happy about that news. At least unironically. So hopefully Triple H remains in creative control. We will find out in due time. But this was a positive step back in the right direction. Does it restore the goodwill that Triple H brought to the product in the absence of Vince? I don't know. It's too soon to say. We have no idea what's going on right now. But it was a nice way to end the week after that awful Raw on Monday night. Thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. We should be back with our regular reviews. SmackDown Lowdown on Sunday, tomorrow. Raw Talk on Monday. I've just been incredibly busy over the last week and a half. I'm always busy, but WrestleMania week specifically, which is why I didn't post for a good week. I was away the entire time, so hopefully we'll get back on track soon enough. And you can enjoy the content. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more daily videos by hitting that bell button as well to be notified every time a new video goes up. Like the video, drop a comment, and share the video. All that stuff is greatly appreciated. Enjoy the rest of your Easter weekend, folks, if you celebrate. If not, have a great Sunday regardless. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.